up there. Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here tonight with Kurt Leavins. Hey, Kurt.
Hey, Dave. How are you tonight?
Good, bad. We'll get to bad when we get to the bad things in this game because it's obvious what it is. But that was a nice win for the Oilers. They clinch a playoff spot. They played really well. The grade A shots in this game were, it was a slaughter by the grade A shots. It was 19-7 for the Oilers.
Oh, wow.
With the subset of 5 alarm shots, 6-3 for the Oilers. Yeah, San Jose, until the last little bit there, they got a couple, in the last 10 minutes, they had 3 grade A shots, but Pickard was not that challenged through the game. And Edmonton dominated this game, just not on the scoreboard. They did win in the end 4-2. Nice empty net goal by Connor Brown.
Haven't had many of those this year.
No. How are you doing, Kurt?
I'm well. Now that I know we're locked and loaded and in the playoffs for sure, now we can just focus on getting this team healthy again, which is the real headline of this game, and I know we'll get to it in a minute.
Yeah. 2 good things, 2 bad things, and 2 numbers. Kurt, what is your good thing?
My good thing is the Oilers' fourth line tonight, and you wouldn't think on an evening where the Oilers win 4-2, dominate in grade A chances and scoring chances like you just described, and clinch a playoff spot, and we talk about the fourth line. But for 2 of these 3 guys, it might have been their best game in the NHL this year as Oilers. They played a ton, did Max Jones,
Kapanen.
Kapanen and sorry, I'm just having a computer issue here.
It's no problem.
Kapanen and sorry, my screen has decided that now's the time to turn on and off. Here it is. Now we're back again. And Noah Philp, the 3 of them, and I'll get to the details of how well they played in a minute. But the great irony of this is, it's quite possible, in helping clinch a playoff spot, that none of these 3 guys would be in the Oilers lineup for game 1. Maybe that's why they played so well. Maybe all 3 guys feel like they really need to step it up to earn a spot. And in a couple of the cases, they probably do. Noah Philp played just about 12 minutes, which is, I think, about the right amount of ice time for him to get. Max Jones was on for 9:36. And when you look up the lineup, Kapanen at 13:04, of course, Kapanen plays on the PK. But the guys were really effective between the 3 of them. They had 6 shots on net. When you're getting that from your fourth line, you'll take that every day and twice on Sundays. Of course, 2 of the 3 were on the Oilers PK, which was perfect on the night. And the coach obviously saw that these guys were having an effective evening, because in the last couple of minutes, with the Oilers trying to preserve that 3-2 lead, that trio was out on the ice. Nice to see when a line puts together that quality of a game. The coach says, "Okay, help us take it home, guys," and they did. They went out there. They had a really good shift. Mostly kept the puck in the San Jose zone. It came back in the Edmonton zone briefly, then went in the other direction again. Who knows whether any of those 3 guys will be in the lineup for game 1? I think it's more likely Kapanen is than the other 2 guys. But no Philp. They might need a big right-handed center who can play a game here and a game there in the playoffs. And I think both you and I felt he played pretty good the other night too, and he was even better tonight, making a case for himself to maybe not be in that starting lineup in game 1, but being a viable option down the road. But I thought all 3 guys were great, and that's the best we've seen Max Jones in Oilers silks.
I thought Jones was actually best in his first game. He really shone in that one, but it's a small point. I was most
5 hits tonight.
I was most impressed with Philp. His hustle on the forecheck. I mean, he set up Kapanen's first shot with a first grade A shot of the game with a really nice hustle play and pass back. And he was just in there all game long. He's also sound defensively. He's big and he's a center. I I think he's out. Like, it's a shame we haven't seen more of him this year. Blessing in disguise, these injuries, because now he's getting another chance. This is the best he's looked, but he's looked really good these last 2 years. He took the whole year off, right? So the previous season, so that's got to slow a guy down. But man, he is playing well, and I would. He looks like he should play in the playoffs. Like, he's outplaying some of the veteran players right now. And, I'm not saying that Janmark and Henrique won't be on the playoff roster. They will be. But Philp, this team's probably going to need some young, healthy players. Hopefully he's healthy. He took a pretty good spill there, and he hit the post pretty hard, it looked like, with his leg.
He did.
But he did play after that. And he is a really good hockey player. I was extremely impressed. And that was Kapanen's, I thought, his best game as an Oiler. He got that great shorthanded chance. Set up by Connor Brown. He was really solid. That's as good as I've seen him in terms of a two-way performance. He's had a tendency to make some pretty bad turnovers in the neutral zone, but none of that tonight. So, a really good game.
And that was part of Kapanen's history in other markets. One was inconsistency, and the other one was every so often it's like, oh my God, why did you turn that over then and there, right? And you see that's something. It's in his game, right? It's I don't think you're going to eliminate it at this point. He can fly though. He can flat out skate. Like he's got to be in the top 5 fastest Oilers, maybe a little better than that. And I noted that Noah Philp tonight was 50-50 on draws, which is that's an area where if he's gonna play in the postseason, he's got to be good there, and he was tonight. And Max Jones, I don't think anybody expects him to start in the postseason, but he needs to be ready. And I think we've all been a little bit underwhelmed. I don't know why we would be. He's mostly an AHL player that's been playing at the NHL level for the Oilers. But tonight he played above that. If he's been a 4 player for most of his time with the Oilers, he was a 6 tonight.
He sure would wallop the guy with a big hit in the third period.
Yeah, he's a big man. Eh?
He is. Philp and Kapanen also kill penalties. So that's, if you're going to play, like, these guys are going to be on the fourth line, and you've got it. It really helps if you can kill penalties. So, they're battling for their job right now with Janmark. And, Jeff Skinner's battling for that job. But, Jeff Skinner's making a really strong bid for a different job. Why don't we segue into my good thing, which is the top line? And although Skinner wasn't the best player on the top line, since I've mentioned him, he is playing great attacking hockey right now. Every time he has the puck, he seems dangerous with it in a way that he was not for much of the season. He's playing with a lot of confidence. He got a really nice backhander on the power play early on. Whipped a super pass over to Connor Brown for a grade A shot in the first period as well. And then he hit, if you want to stay on the team, set up Connor McDavid from breakaways. That's what he did. Beautiful stretch pass. I didn't notice him down the stretch as much, but I did think he made no mistakes on a grade A shot all game. He was involved in 4 grade A shots so he is playing strong. He, I think, deserves to play in the playoffs. He should be in that playoff lineup at the start. Connor Brown, talk about maybe your best game as an Oiler. He helped create 8 grade A shots. I'm sure he's never done that in an Oilers game before. And he was like, he had 2 5-alarm shots early in the game right in front of the net. He almost scored. I think Nurse passed it over on that one. And it was kind of a bit of a hard pass, a hot pass into the crease area. And he got it and put in 2 really good shots on net. Shorthanded, he won the battle in his own zone, then won another battle up the ice and passed it over to Kapanen. Got the empty net goal late. He's getting it done. He's playing with a lot of confidence. These last 2 games, like, this is the Connor Brown I thought we'd see. Everyone thought hoped we'd see right when he signed with the Oilers. The talk of him being in the top 6, he never came close last year. He's coming close right now, where, if, let's say, Hyman can't go, Connor Brown is playing strong Zach Hyman kind of hockey right now. He doesn't have the touch around the net that Hyman has, and he's not as good protecting the puck. He's not Zach Hyman at his best, but he is a good hockey player, and he's really showing it. As for Connor McDavid, 4 assists tonight. He was in on 13 major contributions, individual contributions to grade A shots. If a player's in on 10, that is an amazing hockey game. For him to be on 13, and with all of the injuries, which is the story of the game, with all of the injuries right now, the fact that he has come back from his injury and is absolutely flying heading into the playoffs, does that ever feel? Is that ever uplifting, Kurt? Like the Oilers need that. You can go a long way in the playoffs with two really great players. So if Leon comes back and he's flying and Connor's flying and they can stay healthy, I mean, Darnell Nurse, he had a few wobbles tonight, but he's playing like a tower of power. Bouchard tonight was fantastic. Like the Oilers they've got great players. They've got some great players. And so to see McDavid like this, like this is the year to win the Stanley Cup. I feel like this is the year. They're still in their absolute prime, McDavid and Draisaitl. And the older players hopefully aren't too old. You know, that they're just going to get broken down with injury and hold everybody back. That's my concern, right? You know, from Ekholm to Hyman to all these guys in their 30s. But when McDavid's going like that, it's a damn good feeling as an Oilers fan.
Yeah, I know a lot of people, as the Oilers have sputtered a little bit and there have been injuries down the stretch and all that kind of stuff. A lot of people have kind of said, maybe this just isn't going to be the year for the Oilers. And hey, I get that sentiment. Things haven't exactly gone smoothly since game one for this club. They had that really good winning stretch, before after Christmas, but otherwise it's been a real up and down year.
It sure has.
Yeah, but whenever you have Connor McDavid on your team, you've got a puncher's chance, right? Because he is just so good. How good is he? Well, on the last 8 goals the Oilers scored, McDavid has 7 assists. And the only goal he didn't assist on was a power play goal that he drew the penalty on. So, you don't get much better than that. I thought he looked a little tentative, and I know I mentioned that in our last podcast, the previous game. I didn't think he looked that way at all tonight. He looked fluid and confident. In the face-off circle, McDavid tonight, 64% the face-off circle, because you might remember last podcast.
Oh, that's good stat.
Yeah, it is, right? Because sometimes when you're coming back from a core injury, face-offs are one of the last things to come back because of the twisting motion and the strength required. But he had a good night in the dot as well. So I'm with you on McDavid. On Connor Brown, the interesting thing about him, in comparison to the 3 guys we just talked about from the fourth line, if those guys make it into the lineup, they're still on the fourth line.
Yeah.
The thing about Connor Brown is he's good enough that if you need to, he can play up and down the lineup, and he can play with skill, and he's proven that over the last couple of games. And is an excellent penalty killer, and the PK, by the way, has killed 17 in a row. And guys like Connor Brown and Adam Henrique and Victor Podkolzin have been key players in those PK units. And finally, off of that line, the funny thing with Jeff Skinner is that his best chance of the night was in the third period, and it's a puck that squibbed over to the right-hand side of the net. And Skinner had it on his skate and went to kick it up onto his stick, and it just didn't click, and it ended up skittering wide. And I watched him skate off. He was shaking his head, banged his stick on the boards as he climbed into the box, because he knew that was just a sitter. It was there for him, and it was as good as in. But you know what? It's there's a chemistry between him and McDavid, and I don't think we should be totally shocked about that, because here's a guy who has made a living in the NHL with the puck on his stick. Now, I knew how good of a goal scorer he was, but I didn't really clue in on before he came to Edmonton is how good of a passer he is.
Yeah.
And on
He's starting to show that now.
yeah, right. And on back-to-back games playing on McDavid's line, he's hit him a couple of times where I've gone, oh wow, I'm used to seeing that from Evan Bouchard and Leon Draisaitl, but not from you. So that's kind of interesting. So a good time for Connor Brown and Jeff Skinner to be nearer at the top of their games as Oilers. And Connor McDavid, what else are you going to say?
Nice pass to Emerson, for that goal. Nice finish by Emerson. And then nice pass to Corey Perry. That was a great goal by Corey Perry. He was screening the hell out of that goalie, right? And he's a tall man on his skates, Corey Perry. And then he just jammed that great pass for McDavid. What a goal. What a player.
Who foresaw? He's going to be 40. He's got 17 goals, David.
Yeah, Kurt, he played well in the regular season last year, and then he was, I think, in my estimation, their worst forward in terms of two-way play in the playoffs. But I think he was hurt, and Bruce and I talked about this often, noticed this, and I think he was injured. So that kind of impacted my view of him. The Oilers probably knew that, though, when they signed him, that he had played well when healthy and not so when injured. So he's great. He's really getting it done. He's such a presence. He's like the new Mike Smith, right? Like that old crabby veteran leader guy.
Honestly, David, did you ever think the day would come where you and I would sit here and say, yeah, Corey Perry's great?
Well, you never know. I thought it's like Radko Gudas, who we were attacking the other night. If he was an Oiler, I'd love him, right? Like there are these guys like Matthew Tkachuk, these players, Sam Bennett, who you hate on the other team, but when they come to your team, you do love them. So
Zach Cassian, yeah.
I didn't know if Perry would ever come here, but he did start moving around. He went to Montreal, so I thought maybe he would come to Edmonton. So, Kurt, what is your bad thing?
Well, the bad thing is probably what everybody's talking about tonight. Matthias Ekholm comes back, plays 3 shifts, gone.
Was it 3 or 2?
It was 3 according to the game sheet.
Oh, okay. All right.
3 according to the game sheet. And in terms of time on ice, he played a grand total of 152. And Hyman played into the second period, and then he left and didn't return. So let's take him in order. First of all, I don't know what you saw on the Ekholm play, but what I saw him trip twice. Once earlier in the sequence, and I thought, I wonder if he did he lose a skate blade? Like it looked weird, right? But the play continued, and then he didn't lock skates with the San Jose player, but there was contact between skates of the two players at the attacking blue line, and Ekholm went down again. That time he got up and he went straight to the bench. He sat there for a second. He took a twirl, shook his head, walked down the tunnel.
What are you saying? My guess, Stauffer was saying a core injury, maybe a groin. I think, Bob, that might have been I think it's a groin. Like it's struck. It just looked to me like a groin injury. The way he's moving on the ice, so like there's a gingerness to his movement, and they were the kind of there were the kind of little slip ups that you would, if you have got a groin injury, you would feel that there. Whereas it's hip, ankle, knee, I don't think those would have screwed you up, but that's my guess. And maybe it was a bad groin pull that he's been trying to fight through for some time now. And
well, the old
thing, take a while.
You never really know until you get into game action. And I know people will be mad at this and say, the Oilers rushed him. Look, NHL teams don't allow their players on the ice in relatively meaningless games like this unless they're healthy enough to play. There are strict guidelines. Teams are very careful about this. I don't buy for a second that they rushed him. The player has a say in this too, and he will have said, I'm ready to go. But things can happen when you get into game action at game speed with game physicality, right? The other thing is, we don't know if this is a reoccurrence of the injury he had or if it's something new. Maybe it is, but we don't know that, right?
Oh, I'm sure it's a reoccurrence.
Well, you can, but Dave,
the little bumps were so small, Kurt.
Yeah, the point is we don't know. So
we don't know for sure. But
so if you say let's say
we know 90%,
and then we come back and say it was an ankle, you're going to owe me $5. My
We'll
point is
never know what it. Kurt, we will
we don't
never know what it is. If
we
we ever
don't know.
find out, I'll pay you $5.
You know, the bottom line though is it's bad, and unless it's just a tweak, um, it could be really bad because in my view, he's been the Oilers' best overall defenseman the past 2 seasons.
Okay, I'll bet you $5 it's the groin if we do find out. Because I'll bet you a coffee the next time I see you, Kurt. Because listen, Stauffer said groin, and he knows, right? He's if anyone knows, he knows. So he was kind of, maybe it's a groin.
Yeah,
but
Bob wasn't in the dressing room yet. I think you're giving Bob a little bit too much credit for that, and Bob will hate it that I said that. But yeah,
I'm going to stick with that. That's my theory.
Fine.
Anyway,
so our $5 bet is on, but the bigger point is how important it is, right? Because there's a lot of people, me included, who say the percentage chance of the Oilers winning the Stanley Cup just went down if they don't have Matthias Ekholm. And that's a fact.
Brutal.
Yeah,
the great news is they've got Darnell Nurse this year. I mean, they really didn't have him. He was such a liability last year in the playoffs, honestly.
Well, he was so hurt in the playoffs.
He was so hurt.
Right?
So if you have Nurse healthy and you have Bouchard healthy, you're kind of where you were last year with Ekholm and Bouchard healthy. Because Darnell Nurse, when he's healthy, is as good a player as Matthias Ekholm when they're healthy. But
I don't buy that, Dave. I'm sorry. I hear what you're saying, but I think you're a worse team if you don't have Matthias Ekholm and there's just no.
Oh no, I agree. Well, you are. If you had all three, Kurt, you'd be really great. But I'm just saying, like last year Nurse was so weak, they really didn't have. He was like a net negative. Now, if Ekholm's not playing or playing injured, we'll see what happens. But at least they got Wallman. As
eventually,
when he gets back, if he gets, he's supposed to be just sick. Whatever Nugent, I don't know.
What a wild situation, hey! It's just nuts. But that's only half the story. That's Ekholm. Maybe we can have a $5 bet on Hyman and what's wrong with him, because
I have
Hyman.
That was just weird. Like he's been hurt. He also has been hurt.
Yes.
Game, and he's kind of been like, and I would think I was exclaiming last game, oh, look at Hyman, he's finally moving like he did last year, and he was, but tonight
played just 7-14. I've watched that play over and over again, and two thoughts went into my head. Initially I thought, did he maybe take, it was accidental, there was nothing intentional on the play, but I thought, did he take an accidental cross check to the forearm or to the ribs? About the third time I watched the replay, I said, no, I think he was trying to stretch out of the way of the guy. And I wonder if he pulled an ab muscle or something like that, because it looked more like that. Didn't look like there was vicious enough contact for there to be like a bone breaker bruise or anything like that. I wonder if he just twisted wrong. He had that grimaced look on his face, but I'm not a doctor. I only play one on a podcast. Right. But
well, you were just giving me hell for saying it's a groin injury. Now you're diagnosing an ab injury, Kurt. I will point that out. All right. You're probably it looked like something in that general area of the body.
See?
Who knows?
Who knows?
My bad thing is the first goal against, and there was two bad plays on it. I mean, Bouchard and another guy go behind the net, and they kind of saw it off. Bouchard kind of, in some ways, kind of wins it and puts it back towards his player, Henrique. But Henrique is kind of slow again. Like and we've noticed this. I'm starting to get a little concerned. We've noticed this kind of slowness on a few goals against in recent games, and he looks.
You talked about this after the last game, and I was thinking of you when I watched that play, Dave. I was thinking of you.
So I'm a little bit concerned, and man, I would put, like, if this continues, I would put Philp in there in a second. If Henrique's going to be a checker, like the third or fourth line checker, like if he's not getting it done, if he is too slow, now we'll see. But really, the goalie's got to have it. Like, whatever else you want to say about this was, Picker's been playing great, and he hasn't been letting in bad goals. But this was the first, in a while. But it definitely was one. It just, I don't know how he let it get let it get him by him. It was not particularly. He saw it. It was from far enough out. It didn't look like a tough shot, and it just handcuffed him, as the saying goes. So maybe that's what it was. He just got handcuffed,
Yeah.
just the wrong body position in the wrong moment. But he's got to have that shot, and it was tough because it let San Jose back in a game, which they had no business being in, frankly.
Yeah, you know what? I saw most of that the same way. I agree totally on the Calvin Pickard part of it. Um, the good thing is we haven't said that about him much.
No,
He's been pretty solid this year, and
he
I
he
think
has.
yeah, and I think we can agree he made up for it with those two pad saves on Eklund in right at the end of the game. That's probably what prevented that game from going into overtime. But yeah, I totally he has to have that puck and he knows it. Agree with you completely on you know how much I like Adam Henrique, but he was caught in no man's land and slow to respond to the movement of the puck. So I totally agree with you there too. I saw the Bouchard one a little different. I saw Bouchard as losing both the puck race and the puck battle. And I think if he's quicker and more aggressive in there, that puck doesn't squib out at all. Um, but so if I were scoring it, I'd probably put all three guys almost
You know what? I'll have another
equally.
look.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, as slow as Henrique was, and if I'm right, and Bouchard's guilty of losing the puck battle, your goalie still has to stop that shot. And I think that's where the buck needed to stop on that play.
That was a big stop on Eklund. Now that you mention it, but
Yeah, the first one in particular, the fact that you got the rebound was great, but that first one was a hell of a save, man. Stuck that left pad out. It was just in time.
yeah, just gonna add that into my game grades. And is it William Eklund? Is that it?
Yeah, I think so. Hang on a
This-
second. I could just look.
So could I. There's been a lot of Eklunds in the NHL.
That's why I'm a little hesitant to go. Oh yeah, well it is a
William
W.
Eklund, it is.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, they're an interesting team. They've got like Eklund and this Smith, Will Smith.
I
They're
like
really
Will
high
Smith.
draft picks.
Yeah, they've got some skill, right? But they're
Yeah.
kind of like Anaheim, except worse. Their defense is just god awful.
Yes, it is.
You know, as yeah, we properly outshot them tonight. Good for us, but if you don't outshoot the San Jose Sharks, you're doing something wrong. So
It'll be interesting to see, Kurt, which of these rebuilds, like Anaheim, San Jose, and Chicago, the teams that have done the Oiler thing and taken it down to the studs,
yeah,
in terms of losing and trying to build back. Which of the three, if any, will turn around? Because in some ways, these teams remind me more of the Taylor Hall, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Nail Yakupov Oilers, Magnus Paajarvi Oilers, than they remind me of the McDavid Draisaitl Oilers, if I'm completely honest. So I'm wondering if any of them. I'm guessing Anaheim might have the best chance of the three, but I'm not really sold on any of these three rebuilds right now. They don't. Yeah. I wonder if any of them are really gonna pull it off.
I think that's absolutely fair. I think Anaheim has the better goaltender. Anaheim,
better D-men, maybe.
Yeah, a little better defense. San Jose's got some nice skill up front. As I said on a previous podcast, if San Jose had just started their rebuild 2 years ago when they should have started it, they'd be ahead of Anaheim by now. But instead, they might end up drafting number 1 this spring. We'll see.
Yeah, so it's almost like which of the teams can get a really good defenseman first, because that's what the Oilers were lacking, right? All those years in the decade, they didn't ever get that really great defenseman, and it held them back considerably. Kurt, what's your number?
I was going back and forth between numbers, but I will pick at the end of the day 89. No, I'm not talking about Sam Gagner. I'm talking about Ty Emberson, who had gone 89 games without scoring an NHL goal before scoring his first in an Edmonton Oilers jersey tonight. Nice goal. Just a dandy setup by Connor McDavid, who took the puck off the wall around the net, fed it just in front, and Emberson slammed it home. Emberson's had a few good chances to score this year and just hasn't been able to put the puck in the net, but none of the chances were as good as that one. That was right on the tape, and the spot was open, and he hit it. To his credit, incidentally, Emberson is the 415th 415th Edmonton Oiler to score in a regular National Hockey League game. Good for the kid.
It was a nice goal. Mm-hmm. It was a really nice goal. He went hard to the net, and what a great pass from Connor McDavid. He just lasered that in there. My number is around Connor McDavid. He now has 97 points in 65 games, which is, I think John Rattel had that 1 year. It's what is interesting to me is he now has 1.49 points per game, and that's tied for second in the NHL with Leon Draisaitl, with Kucherov being first. I think he's like 1.54. Right. So even though McDavid's now, he's actually tied for fifth in scoring, but he's even, like, if you go by points per game, he's right up there. And it's been an interesting year for him. I think he's been obsessed by two things. The first was the Four Nations tournament, and the second is the Stanley Cup playoffs. And neither of them have anything to do or much to do with the regular season. So he has been down a court a little bit in terms of focus, maybe. This regular season, maybe he's been hurt. But he's getting ready now. He's gearing up, and this is great news. And I think this is reasonable for him to play the game this way. Mm-hmm. To be on some level focusing at peaking at the right time. I think in the past he tried to peak every game or all the time, like just all the time play at peak. And I think he realizes that's not how it works. He's got to peak at the right time. And he wants to do that. He peaked at the right. He was actually, his Four Nations tournament was actually kind of weird, because in the last game, other than that great goal, well, he actually did make a lot of good plays in the last game when I went over it again, but he was giving away the puck a lot. But he did score that incredible goal, unforgettable goal that we'll all remember. We will remember that goal as long as we live, because it was a huge moment for Canada, beating the Americans. But this playoffs, I just think we're going to see something real special from Connor McDavid. I'm excited now after these last 2 games. He looks ready. He's peaking at the right time, and we saw that for sure tonight. So,
well, one of the reasons why the Oilers didn't win the cup last year is because they ran out of gas.
Yeah.
And they say teams that win the Stanley Cup have to lose it first. And when you lose those battles and you come heartbreakingly close but don't win, if you're smart, you have takeaways from that, and it makes you stronger, right? Maybe one of the things these guys as a team realized was, you know what, we cannot be a court down before we start. And so from an energy standpoint, he certainly looks rested, right? He maybe doesn't look 100% yet because he's been off for a while, but he certainly looks refreshed. And I'm kind of anticipating we'll see the same from Leon Draisaitl when he comes back. I thought we'd see that from Matthias Ekholm, and maybe he would have been if he played more than 3 shifts. And one other comment that doesn't have anything to do with Connor McDavid. Man, Jean Rattel was a beautiful hockey player. I liked him with the Rangers, but I hated the Rangers. But I liked the Bruins because I was a Bobby Orr fan, and I got a great chance to watch Jean Rattel after that big trade, the Phil Esposito trade. And boy, one of the great two-way players of his era was Jean Rattel.
He was, 1 year he had 63 games, 109 points in 71, 72. Of course, it was that same year that he was, summer of 72, that he was picked for Team Canada. And he was on this big line with Rod Gilbert and Vic Hadfield. And of the three players, well, Rattel and Gilbert both did okay against the Russians, but Hadfield totally crashed out of the tournament.
Yeah.
Quite infamously, he's one
Infamously,
of the
yes,
players. Yeah, infamously, and not him alone. There was a number where that happened with,
there were.
but it was such a controversial tournament, and he was such a smooth. He was kind of like the Mike Modano of his day. I'll suggest, like very super smooth with the puck. And I don't know who's like him today. I mean, even Mike Modano's now going back 20 years. So,
Yeah, the thing with
I don't.
Rattel, he had elements of Beliveau in him. He had elements of Dave Keon in him because he was such a good defensive player as well, and a classy guy too. It was I could never
Maybe
figure out why anybody wouldn't like Jean Rattel.
maybe Jack Eichel is kind of the modern day similar kind of player.
Yeah, I don't mind that
It's
comparison because Rattel wasn't quite the power forward that Modano
no,
was,
or
but
yeah,
the Jack
okay, yeah.
Eichel comparison actually I don't mind that. That's a pretty good comparison. Yeah.
All right, Kurt.
How's
So
that for a
I'm
tangent?
gonna. That was good. That was good. Uh, we often go on the mandatory 1970 sports references.
Our old friend would
Um,
like that.
yeah, Kurt, why don't we leave it there? And you'll be doing the podcast. I think Sunday night. I'm going to be away, so good
There
luck
we
with
go.
that.
Thank you.
Thanks for talking tonight, Kurt.
My pleasure, David.
And in the meantime, and in between times, and until we meet again, Bruce McCurdy in the Hall of Our Fathers, having a cold one with the Hockey Gourds. This has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast. Oh.